Galveston Gardening, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to um, bring to you a group of individuals, some knowledgeable experts on a variety of topics, and people that you might normally not have access to. And I'll be trying to focus on topics that are important to our area, that might be of interest here in our local Galveston area. And as our first victim, uh, our first guest, I've asked a longtime colleague and very close friend, Dr. Charlie Hall, to visit with us. And Charlie is a very interesting guy. He comes from a horticultural background, a nursery background, but his formal training and expertise is in economics. So he's one of these individuals that brings both the business side and the horticultural side together. But most recently, Charlie has been involved in America and in Bloom.
Mhm.
And so I've asked Charlie if he would visit with us a little bit about America in Bloom. So Charlie, before we get started, let me welcome you to our first hangout.
Thank you very much, Don. It's great to be here.
And where are you right now?
Well, I'm in Portland, Oregon. That's the beauty of the internet. You can be anywhere and any place, and fortunately, I'm fully clothed. So, but that's beside the point.
Well, and what are you doing in Portland?
Well, I'm attending the Far West Show, which is one of the largest trade shows in the nursery industry, and gave a little speech yesterday and got one this afternoon. So it rained a little bit, but overall it's been a beautiful past couple of days here in Portland.
I'll bet. Man. So listen, Charlie, if you would, could you take a minute and describe or tell us a little bit about American in Bloom and maybe as importantly your role or involvement with the organization?
Sure. I happen to be on the board for America in Bloom, and there's a little over a dozen folks across the country that are on the board. And it's a volunteer organization, 501c3, that basically whose mission is to promote nationwide beautification through education and community involvement across the country. And of course we would like to encourage the use of flowers, shrubs, and trees and other environmental and lifestyle enhancements to improve the quality of lives of citizens across America.
Very interesting. Well, that certainly is a topic of interest here, particularly in lieu of Hurricane Ike, 2008. We had a pretty devastating hurricane here, and we've been struggling to get back. We lost 40,000 trees, but we had some devastating impacts to our community landscape across the board. And of course, one of the big challenges is that there are so many issues following Ike, even though it's been 4 or 5 years ago. It's just very challenging to allocate the resources to community beautification when there are other infrastructure issues that have to be attended to.
Right.
But a lot of individuals have really tried to stress to our city leaders that there is a connection between community beautification and economic development. And I know that's an area that you've worked in, and I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about, help us connect the dots between those two, what might seem very different issues.
Yeah, that's a very important topic, and most folks, even when they consider America in Bloom, just by the name itself, they think, well, we're just making communities prettier. And in fact, beautification involves a whole lot more than just making the environs in a particular community look better. It's about actually making people within the community feel better as well, and attracting people from outside the community. And so that's where the crux of the economic development aspects come into play. And there's study after study after study that documents the relationship between beautification and economic and community development. And in fact, I had a grad student that I worked with for a year and a half that during the course of that time period, we collected over 400 different research citations from various universities and various both profit and nonprofit entities, the Harvard Medical School and so forth. And so by putting together all this literature, we were able to determine that beautification is a very important part of community life, and particularly from an economic development standpoint. So just let me give you a few examples if we can talk a little more specifically about that relationship. Most people don't know that when you have businesses within a city or a community that are operating in an environment that is aesthetically pleasing, that has been beautified, they actually sell more stuff. And people travel from greater distances to go and shop at those businesses. They shop for longer periods of time. They're more relaxed. And anytime you have a more relaxed and less stressed shopper, they're going to spend more money. And several studies have indicated that they actually are willing to pay higher prices because they're more relaxed and they just enjoy the environment in which they're shopping. So to me, that's one very important point for local businesses to realize, is that when your community has engaged in beautification efforts, the businesses within that community they're going to do better. They're going to be more profitable. So and if they're more profitable, they're obviously part of that is paying taxes and so forth. So they have a greater ability to pay that and contribute to the municipal coffers, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. What kind of role would you anticipate or expect community beautification to play in a tourism-based economy like we have here in Galveston? I mean, do you think there's a direct or indirect relationship between those two issues?
Yeah, there's both a direct and an indirect economic benefit from communities engaging in those beautification efforts to attract either tourism or agritourism. Even if it's a rural community, you kind of foster an agritourism. But in Galveston, obviously, there's not a lot of farming that's going on there on the island. But those beautification efforts do attract greater numbers of tourists, and those tourists spend money on food and hotels, and all that revenue comes from outside the region. So economically, it's a new influx of funds coming into the city, which they otherwise would not have had. And there's a stronger, when we economists measure the strength of those dollars through various multipliers, there's a stronger effect when you spend dollars from people outside the community that are coming in for tourism purposes. And it's a greater impact. It's more of a synergistic effect, and that can be again related to the botanical gardens that are in the area. Obviously Galveston already has several venues which are beautiful to visit, but if a community like Galveston were to one up those existing beautification efforts, then again, those gains are synergistic, and so there'd be a lot of more money filtering back to the city of Galveston through tax revenues, and then also the multiplier effects like I was talking about earlier.
Well, one of the challenges that we've had, of course, is prioritizing our budget, and again, it's difficult to place much of a priority on community beautification since we haven't made that connection or linkage. But I know in visiting when talking with visitors, and the general consensus is that particularly our gateways into the city are not very attractive. We don't really create a very good first kind of a first opinion of the city as people primarily from Houston come to visit. And I guess many people here that are proponents of community beautification feel like if we could up the bar a little bit, that it might tend to draw or attract individuals in a little bit higher economic bracket that would again be in a position to increase their expenditures, stay a little bit longer, pay a little bit more for rooms and so forth.
Right.
So it again the multiplier factor. But again, this whole issue of community beautification, and we do have a fairly significant volunteer effort here in terms of replanting trees, trying to make impacts on our community landscape. But I think it's it's an important point that it's just not about planting pretty flowers and trees. We're working hard to enhance the economic aspect.
Oh, absolutely. And related to your earlier point, when judges go out from the American Bloom program and they're judging cities that are participating in the program, they're not just looking at the flowers that are planted within the city. That's one component, but they're looking at all the landscaped areas as well as the urban forestry component, and the environmental efforts that communities are involved in terms of enhancing the sustainability of their communities, and then what they're doing to preserve their heritage and the cultural aspects of their communities, and then the overall impression that the community gives off to visitors. And it's in that last criteria, that last category, where entrances, the ingress and egress coming in and out of the city or community is very important in terms of establishing that initial impression. And you only have that one chance to make that initial impression. And so there is a correlation between the ingress and egress and the beautification of those entrances and exits of the community, and how long people choose to stay. In fact, it's that welcoming aspect. There was another study by the Knight Foundation that looked at the different aspects that citizens value in a community. And one of the main things that they value is that welcoming atmosphere, and sometimes they choose to stay. Now, in Galveston, that may be they may not be able to stay and buy a house. Not all of them are going to want to stay and live there, but that's one of the factors, though, that influences whether citizens want to stay within a community and live and bring up their children in that community.
Okay, well, these are all excellent points, and I know there are case studies and the packets that communities put together to compete in the America in Bloom Awards program. Is that information available? I'm going to show the America in Bloom website here in just a minute, but is that information available online so that if a community like Galveston wanted to get a few ideas or see how other communities are dealing with beautification, that they might have access to that information?
Yeah, in fact, you alluded to the American Bloom website, and that is the premier place for folks to find this information. And in fact, one of the bullets across the top, or one of the tabs across the top at the website, refers to a Best Ideas book. And that is a book that we have taken the last 10 years worth of history of American Bloom, and we've seen the cities and communities that have had great successes, and we've documented that in that
okay.
Best Ideas book.
Oh, okay. So I'll go ahead and, while you're talking, I'll go ahead and put that site up so that people can jot down. It's not very complicated, americanbloom.org. But so that's got the. Now, tell me the name of the. What is it again? The Best Ideas?
Yeah, we call it the Best Ideas book. I forget which tab under the American Bloom website that it's located, but it's it's worth folks searching through the website a little bit anyway. But it's that particular resource, the Best Ideas book, that has 10 years worth of success stories from communities all across America. And we hear time and time and time again how valuable a resource that is for folks, because oftentimes the only difference between a community engaging in a beautification project and not engaging in one is that is the creativity of knowing what to do or what could be done. And when you see pictures and evidence of what other communities have done successfully, then that generates a lot of creativity and so forth. So it's a very valuable resource.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's kind of, I think, where we are on this whole notion is that I think folks know something needs to be done. People are interested, but we don't have a real clear game plan. We don't have a consensus that this is an important issue. So this is all fabulous information. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule all the way from Portland to get with us. And once again, let me express my appreciation. I look forward to seeing you when you get back. But be ready, because it's pretty, don't get too accustomed to that cool weather.
Yeah, I'll have to readjust to the wonders of our Texas environment.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Okay. Hey, I appreciate it, and thanks so much, and we'll see you when you get back.
You bet. Thanks,
All
Doug.
right. All right. Bye-bye.